You've been playing for 10 years with the same musicians. How did you manage to keep this band together for such a long time?
When I was going through some hard times in the mid-'70s due to all the advertising. The band was always my sense of reality. I would be in a strange country. Strange things would be happening. I'd be reading strange things about myself, things that I didn't feel were true, or they didn't make sense to me, I knew I had a good band. I said, gee, all we got to do is come out and play and let the music do the talking. And meanwhile, it was interesting. Some of the fellas were enjoying it tremendously. It was like, wow, this is great. It's like I remember when I was on the cover of Time and Newsweek, like, I didn't want to look at it. Some of the guys went out and would buy like 50 copies. So it was always a balancing thing, and a lot of times they enjoyed they had enough distance to where they could enjoy it a little more than me, and my sense of, I was suspicious.
Musically, your songs are very close to the roots of rock and roll. What influenced you?
Well, I would say Dylan was probably my big songwriting influence. He would have to be number one, I guess. Particularly, you can really hear it on the early albums and Greetings from Asbury Park, and I used a lot of images, and it was very close to what he was doing. But musically, I liked the 50s stuff, and 60s rock and roll.
Musically, do you feel the need to experiment more? You didn't do a synthesizer album like Neil Young or a rock opera LP. Do you feel the need to change directions?
Sometimes I do. I guess generally I'm pretty conservative, in some ways, and kind of, I just generally make the noises that I hear in my head at a particularly given time, I don't really have a desire to, experiment for experiment's sake, for the sake of experimentation, because mainly what I'm trying to do is get an idea across. I'm not really that concerned with style. It's like our band its style is not what we do for the most part, I've always focused, I wanted our thing to be basically, it's real content oriented, it's what you're saying. And so I kind of go from there. I go from is this a good song? Is there a human being in this song? If I sing this song, do you hear like a real person's voice? And then what's their story? What are they saying? Do they have a story to tell? Is it something that's worth taking up people's time, with?
Your characters seem to be trapped. Do you feel less optimistic today? Have you changed?
Well, I don't think it's about people who no longer have really dreams. I think some of the songs are about that, I guess basically as you get older, your main battle is a battle to not give in to despair, which is difficult. It's difficult to do. And basically that's the fight that most of my characters are fighting now in some fashion, Certainly the guy Born in the USA, his thing is it's a survival thing, It's something where there's not the naiveness that there initially was, in my earlier music. There's not a certain kind of youthful optimism, even though optimism may always be youthful in some sense, but it's not like you're going to save the world or you're going to, it's mainly people trying to find some place for themselves in the world, some place where they can live with some dignity and some decency, some sense of self-respect, to find some place in some community somewhere, to find some friends, to find a job, to be able to live with their wives or their kids, you know, to make some sort of life for themselves. And I guess a lot of the songs are about that particular struggle, you know. I guess if you looked at Born in the USA, my hometown, you know, as you get older, the main thing that you got to deal with is all the things you lose, you know. And if you can deal with that, you know, if you can deal with just that sense of leaving things behind, you know, or else you'd go crazy, you know. You go crazy trying to hold on to the same dream you had when you were 22.
It seems to me that you should have been some of your characters if you hadn't escaped in music.
Well, I don't think you actually ever... escape is kind of a funny thing. I guess in the end, I wanted more, but I didn't really want to escape. You know, I really didn't want to get away. I still see all my old friends, and I spend a lot of time in the same bars I used to spend time in. And I really love those things. I like having the choice, though. I like having the choice to leave if I want to. And there's a lot of people that don't have that choice. And basically what my success has meant to me has meant choices. You know, that also makes life harder. But it also, you know, you have a little more freedom. So the songs autobiographically, I guess, some songs are very autobiographical, you know. You feel like Nebraska Used Cars, you know, that was, or even some on my father's house to some degree. And the other songs, while they're not, the details are not really about me, they feel the way that, like, my childhood felt. Or they feel the way that sometimes when I go home, what it feels like, you know, the tone of them. The tone of them is kind of autobiographical in some fashion. But it's also, it's a lot, it's about, you know, the road not taken and things that I was fortunate enough to, you know, I found a key, you know, and I was able to unlock a lot more doors than most people have the opportunity to. That's probably, I think that's oversimplified. But, I don't know, you know, I mean, I like my job. You know, I travel with my friends. We've been together a long time. That right there is an amazing amount of stuff to feel good about. You know, we've been successful. You know, we've made money. The job we've done it's been fulfilling. You know, it's been something where I've gotten a lot of feedback from an audience. I have an audience. I have people that are interested in the songs I write and the show that we put on. You know, those things they're pretty satisfying things. You know, so in that sense, you know, I feel pretty lucky because most people don't achieve those things or get the opportunity to achieve those things. You know, there's a lot of things I would like still, I guess. You know, I'm at an age probably where someday, I always say I'd like to get married, you know, I'd like to have kids. You know, and I haven't been able to do that. The basic, I guess I really haven't wanted to do it, you know, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to feel free to travel, and the way we tour for a year, and then when I go home, I spend a lot of time writing songs, you know, so I'm all caught up in my job, you know, which is not an excuse, but it's one that I can use when I...
In a previous interview, you said that you wanted to get married, but you were already married to rock and roll.
I guess, there's some truth in that, but that's a pretty limiting approach to life, I guess, even though, like I said, it's one, I got into it, because I felt like, I wanted everything, I wanted everything that life had to offer. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to see the whole world. I wanted to know all about the world. I get to do the show every night. It's an unbelievable collision with an enormous amount of people every night. There's a tremendous exchange energy, and it's very life affirming.